Am I the antagonist for how I told my ex that my wife is pregnant? Back in 2015, I, male now 35, had a major mental breakdown and a short stay in hospital after my ex-wife Lauren, female now 36, abandoned me and took our 5-month-old baby son, James, male now 9, 250 miles away, under the pretense of getting more help with caring for him. After finding out she wasn't coming back, and several weeks of very weird discussions and therapy, I said I wanted to separate, and Lauren started a very, very messy divorce, including false accusations, threatening behavior against her and James, against me that still hurt to this day. It has taken years, child contact centers, and a lot of compromising to get to a stage where Lauren and James and her partner are all happy for me to visit. I always travel up to them, as they refuse to meet in the middle. We have reasonably open lines of communication and plan these visits together. It's also very important to know that James is autistic and finds change very difficult and anxiety-provoking. Current day. After rescheduling 2 visits, one after Christmas, James felt too overwhelmed, one in February, James was ill, I finally went up to see James. He even asked if my wife Kathy, female 35, could come with me, which is a huge deal because he decided a couple of years ago that he'd rather it just be me. The visit went so well. James was very playful and more affectionate than ever. He got on well with Kathy, and I have some wonderful memories from it. A couple days after the visit, Kathy and I messaged Lauren and partner to tell them about how we're expecting a baby. We didn't tell them before the visit because I wanted the focus to be solely on James and I. They have also always expressed that visits should be as positive as possible. We asked if we could discuss the best way to give this news to James and started talking about planning the next visit. Chaos. Lauren and partner replied, saying how disappointed they were in how we'd handled this. Lauren broke down in tears due to anxiety of what this could mean for James, and James figured something was up and basically put 1-1 together. He is furious and extremely upset, thinking he's being replaced. He doesn't even want my name mentioned. Cue Lauren accusing me of not doing enough to visit. I have sought counseling and have been told I have a form of complex PTSD from the abandonment at my weakest time, and not forgetting the amount it costs to travel and stay where they live. The partner, who typically goes above and beyond and is an excellent role model to James, telling me it wasn't the courageous thing to do and that we should have brought it up on the day. We've been told to leave them alone for a while. I can't see how we could have approached this any better than we did. When messaging, I also asked when a good time to message would be so that James wouldn't be using Lauren's phone for games, etc. Am I the asshole? Lauren and partner replied, saying this is entirely her fault, not yours. May I suggest that your son's autism is not the problem at all, but rather his mother's reactions that exacerbate things for him? And in this case, I think she's done it on purpose. James has proven in the past that he's able to adjust well to new people in your life. He reacted positively to Kathy. You sound like a great dad. Please don't feel like you're absolutely not. Have I done enough to try to save my marriage to my husband of 7 months? Long-time lurker, first-time poster. Just need unbiased advice. For context, I've been together with my now husband for 2 years. We got married 7 months ago and had a baby 7 weeks ago. My husband has continually made impulsive decisions and then lied to me in our marriage. I used to think it was the immaturity of the age difference, but there are things that are more serious. Things like buying a motorcycle after discussing it, and both of us agreeing that we didn't have the budget for it as we were saving for the birth of our baby. He's a blue-collar worker and had a good job with opportunity to grow that my friend got him. He quit one day without discussing it with me beforehand to go to his old job with less pay, not much opportunity for growth and inconsistent pay and hours because he didn't feel comfortable in this other job. We had met at church. Religion is a big part of my life. And he had always said that although he didn't know much, he was excited to learn. Now he's not interested in going to church at all, or raising our child with these beliefs. He doesn't like when people come visit us. When our baby was born, my mom and dad were coming over every day to help me while he was at work, and he'd get home and be rude to them because he was annoyed that they were here. He doesn't like my sister or friends visiting or me going out with them. This started when we got married, and is always a fight. He only ever really goes out with his brother and one friend, and I never time his outings or give him a hard time as he does with me. He doesn't really help out with the baby at night because he works. I went back to work 1 month after giving birth, but I work from home, so he says my job is much easier. I've had to take care of my baby by myself at night since birth. We had a big discussion 2 weeks ago about this and I asked him to leave. Whenever we talk about things, it feels like a monologue of me talking about my feelings and him not saying much. This time he agreed that he's changed and become much harsher and asked for another chance to make our marriage work for the baby. I agreed and we set some ground rules. Things were better for a few days, but not much has changed since. When he gets angry, he'll stop taking to me, he'll start ignoring me, or he'll leave. Today after a tiff, I caught him as he was sending an old friend, a woman, a message asking how she was doing. He's cheated on me once before when he was messaging this girl from his work back at the beginning of our relationship, so it makes me feel insecure. especially after just having had a baby, and he knows it. I called him out and he went back to ignoring me and locking himself in a room. Anyway, I am exhausted. I am tired from taking care of the baby almost by myself. I'm tired of fighting with him. I'm tired of feeling like I'm the only one trying to save our marriage. I worry because I don't want my son to grow up and think that I didn't try to keep our family together, and it pains my heart that he might not know what it's like to grow up with mom and dad together. But I just don't know what more I can do. Anyways, any advice is welcomed and appreciated. It will be more harmful to model to your son that his father is the kind of man and husband he should aspire to be, or that he should remain in a relationship where he is unloved and treated poorly for the sake of appearance or convention. The harsh truth is that this marriage was never good, and there is nothing to fix. You have my permission to say this is enough. Your son deserves a happy home without a sullen man baby taking up half of your attention. My husband has a whole other wife and child. Where do I go from here? This is a long and complicated story. I'm sorry if some things are confusing, don't make sense. I am a mess right now, and trying to wrap my brain around everything also. I met my husband Jake, fake name, about 4 years ago on Tinder. Jake comes from a different country to where I am from, but he was my type, and when we started talking, I was blown away by how charming and sweet he was. This version of Jake never went away. He has always been this amazingly charming and sweet person. He's the type of person that when you finished having a conversation with him, you feel better about yourself. Just to give you some context, he and I fell in love quickly and got married fast also. He was very eager to start a family as it gave his citizenship in my country more legitimacy. By our second anniversary, we were married and I was pregnant with our son. Jake still works in his home country, and so every few months he flies back and stays there with his mother, or so I thought. Completes the work required and then flies back. The rest of the work he can do at home. The last few years with Jake have genuinely been the most amazing years of my life, and this is why the last week feels like such a fever dream. This is hard to explain, but a person on Facebook messaged me last Tuesday claiming that Jake had been cheating on me and that they had proof. I genuinely didn't believe this person and at first just ignored them, but then curiosity got the better of me and I messaged back and asked what proof they had. They proceeded to send me a large collection of photos of Jake with another woman and 2 boys. I know these photos were relatively recent, as he dyed his hair blonde for the Barbie movie at my request, and has kept it like that ever since. The person told me that the woman in the photo was his wife, and the 2 boys were his sons. I obviously didn't want to believe it. I tried to find ways it was fake, Photoshop, AI, whatever, I don't even know. I think the person blocked me after that, as their account just comes up as Facebook user now when I look at the chats. When I had got home, I confronted Jake, and he started crying and confessed that everything was true and that he had a wife and 2 sons, who looked to be about 13 and 9. But I could be wrong, that's just my best guess. In his home country, that he was still married to the woman. I asked him how he could do this to me. How could he have lied to me for so long? I told him I was going to expose him to the other wife, and he said not to bother because she already knows and supports him. I left and have been staying with my mother ever since. This has been the hardest week of my life, and some days I genuinely haven't wanted to get out of bed. Jake has been texting me saying that he will break things off with the other wife completely, if that's what I wanted, and he texted me saying he thought I wouldn't mind, which genuinely made me sob into my pillow. I have never felt so low. Part of me, stupidly I know, wants to take him back. The years I had with him were the best I have ever had, but this betrayal is just, I don't even know how to explain the hurt I feel. It's clear that he used you for his own gain, and now it's time to take action. Don't let his manipulation continue. Seek the help of family, friends, and a lawyer to protect yourself and your future. This is not a situation to take lightly, as fraud has been committed and you deserve justice. Focus on getting the legal advice you need to move forward and leave this toxic relationship behind. Am I the antagonist for not paying for my sister's wedding? I'm female 24 and I'm the youngest of 14 kids. All of my siblings are married with kids besides the 2 youngest, me and my sister, 30. It's a tradition for all the siblings to pitch in over $3,000 for the wedding and honeymoon for each sibling when getting married, since we all have very good jobs and are well off. After my mother passed away, I told myself I will no longer join in on giving money for the wedding and honeymoon, since there is only me and another sibling left. My last sibling, Ursula, to get married, got engaged this past February. I honestly didn't know because I only speak to 2 siblings. I got what looked like a wedding invite in the mail the other morning. I opened it and it was a request for $3,000 from my sister. I was talking to one of the 2 sisters. They ended up telling me that Ursula lost her job during COVID and filed for bankruptcy. She's with a guy that makes $800 a month and they can't afford a wedding. After I got home, I sent Ursula a text politely telling her I'm sorry about her situation, but I will not be giving her money for the wedding. I was engaged to my kid's father. After getting pregnant with our second, which is the youngest, he turned abusive. Ursula messaged me going off, saying I was going to ruin her wedding by being jealous because my engagement fell through. I told her me not giving her money had nothing to do with that. It had been because I haven't spoken to her in years. She then responded with how much everything cost. I told her it's not my fault that a bum planned a luxurious wedding and honeymoon knowing she didn't have the money. Come to find out the siblings are paying for everything. After I told her a strict no, she went on Facebook trying to drum up the money. She went on a website that lets you set up a fundraiser and she's posting it everywhere. She is making herself look horrible. I had a friend send me a few screenshots asking if that's my sister and I deny ever knowing her. She then made a Facebook post about how after I turned 18 and took over the family business I gave money to my siblings' weddings but not hers. That I'm refusing to give her money because I'm jealous that she's getting married and I'm still single with 2 kids. I went and made a post with pictures and video evidence of her making fun of all the siblings and her friends. After I made the post, I turned my phone off. About 3 hours later I turned my phone on to find out all of the siblings pulled out their funding for Ursula's wedding. About a day later, she made a post saying the wedding was off because she couldn't afford the dream wedding and honeymoon she wanted because of me. She went to the courthouse today to get married and sent me a picture of her crying. I've had a bunch of people texting and calling me after this telling me I'm such a jerk for doing this to her. I'm starting to feel bad and feel like it's my fault because if I hadn't made the post, she would still have funding to have a decent wedding. So am I the asshole? Not the antagonist. Your sister was completely out of line to slam you online expecting you to fork over her money. She played the stupid game and won the stupid prize. You are not obligated to pay for someone else's dream, especially when they show no regard for you otherwise. Best of luck, this will die down. Am I the antagonist for telling my acquaintance she should improve herself or lower her standards if she wants to find a man? I have an acquaintance named Lola who is 26 years old and single and has been looking for a partner for a very long time. She is on every dating application and wears white whenever we go out to manifest a husband. I don't choose to hang out with her alone. You will see why. But she is friends with a couple of my friends and so we hang out in groups a lot together. When we hang out, she constantly complains about her dating life. Even if we're talking about something completely different, she finds some way to make the conversation about her relationship troubles. Though I avoid direct conversation with her about this and leave it to others to validate her, it has become abundantly clear why she cannot find a partner. Lola has a long list of demands, most of which she does not meet. She wants someone who is ambitious in his career and makes 6 figures. She works part-time and lives with her parents and doesn't seem to be in a hurry to move out. He needs to go to the gym regularly and take care of his body. Lola is overweight and hates exercise. He needs to play an instrument and be into music. Lola says she has never picked up an instrument in her life. He has to be over 6 feet 2 inches. Lola is 5 feet 2 inches. She complains that when we go out no guys approach her, but I've seen plenty of guys ask her to dance, buy her a drink, etc. and she rejects all of them. I stay quiet when Lola goes on her long, frequent rants, but a few days ago we were at brunch with some other friends, and she asked me specifically for advice. My fiancé named Jim is tall, athletic and ambitious and musically gifted, and she wanted to know how I got him. I tried my best to explain to her nicely that people tend to choose partners who are similar to themselves. Jim and I go to the gym together every day. We both are very dedicated to our jobs, and we have a lot of similar hobbies and interests, so we have a lot to talk about. I told her that if she wants to find a man like that, she should consider applying herself more in her job, going to the gym, and picking up a hobby she wants her partner to have. Otherwise, she could either date a guy that is interested in her as she is, or be comfortable with being single. I thought I was being very polite, but this completely killed the mood. Lola got really upset and accused me of fat-shaming her, even though I never said anything about losing weight, just going to the gym because she wants her partner to go to the gym. One of my friends told me Lola is worthy and deserving of a great guy and doesn't need to change herself. I effectively ended the brunch with what I thought was helpful advice. Afterwards, I got some texts from friends demanding I apologize to Lola, but others supporting me and telling me that I was right and Lola was way too sensitive. I was trying to help, but would it have been better if I just lied? Was that an inappropriate thing to say in that setting? Was it an move for me to give that advice? Not the antagonist. If Lola wants to meet a fit, successful guy, going to the gym would be a good start. Blaming her friends for feeding into her delusions is justified. Sometimes we all need a reality check, even if it's hard to hear at first. Did I handle Easter right? I feel so guilty. To give some context on Christmas, there was an issue with my uncle teasing and making fun of me and my husband about moving to a different state when we bought our first house. The banter crossed a line into a belligerent argument, and it became really uncomfortable. X state has more traffic, it's smelly and ugly. You'll miss E state right away. My cousin and my mom even chimed in with the pile-on about how the state we were moving to is inferior. My parents gave us a ride home, and when I complained about it to them, they at first were like, "You know your uncle. He likes to tease," and then they began to sympathize until I called my mom out for joining in on the bullying. Then my dad got angry and began berating us and saying they had nothing to do with it, etc. And that I brought this up on Christmas and ruined Christmas. Needless to say, it was an awkward ride home. Flash forward 3 months. I am the type to kinda live and let live, especially 3 months after something happened, but my husband is not. We knew a few weeks before Easter that we would be having Easter with that side of the family, and my husband was not happy and kept saying he was dreading it. My take on it is that family can be difficult and obnoxious, but you love them and suck it up for a few holidays a year. Thursday I ended up talking to my parents because my husband's discomfort was apparent. They empathized and then offered to talk to my uncle for me. I decided to handle it on my own by approaching my aunt, his wife, since she is a bit more reasonable. She coldly said she is sorry I felt this way, but since she was not the perpetrator, she does not understand why I am coming to her. So then I contacted my uncle to explain how we felt, who took 48 hours to respond and ended up saying it was just a joke. At this point, we had told my parents that we would be getting there Saturday later than they had asked. 4-0 instead of 2-0 because my husband was so upset. We also told them we would not be coming for Easter because of the hostile environment. The original plan was we were celebrating a mini Easter with my brother on Saturday, sleeping over and having Easter breakfast and then dinner with the dreaded uncle and his family. After my brother left Saturday evening, I told my parents we were leaving too. My mom started to cry because she thought we were staying to have breakfast. I sent my husband out to go get the car and calmly explained that it has been a difficult time emotionally, and my father got angry and said it has been a difficult time for them because my mom had had surgery 2 weeks ago and that I am being selfish. I became uncomfortable, and then he told me, in kinda a threatening voice, I had crossed a line with refusing to spend time with them on a major holiday. I ended up going out to the car and talking to my husband for a few hours to decide what to do. My husband is fuming and saying my father is acting out of line and causing me duress. We ended up having a huge argument because I told my husband about all the guilt I have and that I don't want to speak up or cause drama on a major holiday just like I did on Christmas. He said they were the ones causing issues, not me for standing up for us. We decided to create a united front and stay over for Easter breakfast, but my husband very clearly did not want to be there. My father and husband were not talking to each other. For further context, there is a long history of my husband butting heads with my family. We had a lot of issues during wedding planning and COVID wedding rescheduling from 2019-2022. My parents had said multiple things that made my husband and I feel ostracized and like we are causing problems. One example, in 2019, my mom did not understand why my husband had 2 Passover setters, he is Jewish, while they only celebrate Easter once. She jokingly said, "What are you?" turning into Mrs. Leibovitz, which is not my husband's last name, but I guess was the most stereotypical Jewish name she could think of. This caused a huge blow-up fight and a rift between me and my parents. They also kept during the wedding planning saying Jeter is the bride, so she gets final say with planning, and kept implying I was more important than my then fiancé. Another more recent issue. Christmas 2022, my brother and sister-in-law were sick with a stomach bug. A few days later, my mom scheduled makeup Christmas with them, but my husband thought they might still be contagious, so we declined the invitation. My mom called me upset and said I ruined Christmas. On my parents' side, they have never been huge fans of my husband's because he has a temper and has a tendency of letting things get to him and yelling when we have an argument. My parents have always felt that his temper is a problem. They have been there when he made me cry during particularly bad arguments, and that he tends to stir the shit. My mom tries really hard to keep the peace. I keep the status quo, while my dad does not hide that he feels my husband is disrespectful and has even said so to his face. I have felt caught in the middle for 5+ years, and even after years of therapy, couples therapy, journaling, and trying to work on myself, my instinct is to not cause drama with my family. I felt so guilty for leaving Easter after breakfast with less than 24 hours notice of our plans, and my husband feels I don't have his back. Everyone sucks here. Your parents are anti-Semitic narcissists, your husband potentially has anger issues, and you allow it all to happen. Why are your parents' feelings more important than your husband's? You are the off for allowing your family to abuse him and not respecting his boundaries. You clearly knew he didn't want to be there, yet you guilted him into it. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.